Back to what you said. We're dealing with a sine wave. All this.
What was it that I said? Oh, you're talking about 44.1.
Yeah.
You talk about in something you wrote for the Shepherd about the fact that CD quality music or CD quality, the standard CD quality cuts off frequencies that are above the range of.
So it sounds louder, but it just sounds louder. Right, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's not called clipping, but in effect it's narrowing the sine wave. So everything sounds louder. And just last night on television, on the news, there was a report about governing the output of iPods, because I forget how many, I think it's, I wasn't paying attention, and I wasn't really thinking, but I thought I heard 29 million people suffering from hearing damage. That's a lot of people. Is that possible? Did I hear that right? Okay, well, what are we talking about? We're talking about the place of sound, and we can talk about it in different ways, and I think it's innovating to do so. One of the problems I have with humanist thought is it will come up, it often does, and that's why I'm a humanist, it'll come up with an idea and then backfill proof. And it's, charming, and there should be a humanist in every room. But I think it's important to realize that when we're talking about sound in this class and its cultural deposition, we're really talking about something that is not only measurable through other disciplines, but that becomes, because of its pervasiveness, becomes the carrier for that which is at ground level, and really starts to creep in, particularly when culture does its strange revolution during the Highway 61 Revisited period. We've never left this period of time. We're always using it for a reference. And it has a lot to do with believing, and it has a lot to do with believing something about what it is. There's a pride to be on Desolation Row, although it's an awful place to be. There's a pride to be on Desolation Row, although it's an awful place to be. Sounds like alt.country to me. We create music spaces, and we tend to fill them with expectation and not content. And this is a period of time, it's a very unique period of time, where 10 years post the revolution in beat poetry, which has all to do with defining the hipster, that was accepted by countless tens of thousands of young people, so too did they then move quite easily, as the beats tried to move and failed, into sound. Sound is the carrier for what's the latest on what's hip. It always will be, since Highway 61 Revisited, since 65, roughly I would say 65 to spring 66. It's odd and interesting that that was such a compressed period of time, and it's not just Dylan, but he's our model.
Do you think that might be because Dylan turned like the beat hipster that was attempting to transform sound into hip, and he actually brought it to where it needed to be?
Yes, and now we're in music, literature, and history. Yes. Yeah. No, no apology. You're absolutely right. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, that's where I want to be. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about that. But let us not forget the cultural dimension of sound, which by this period of time has really embedded itself in us in ways that are delightful. I mean, you know, the audiophile era is pretty much, it's tail end, really. I mean, people are pretty much done sitting in their living rooms listening to steam engines go from left to speaker to right speaker. And you know, Le Mans cars, you know, going from left speaker to right. Yeah, exactly. And you know, bongos coming out of the right. And, you know, there's, by the way, the history of bongo albums, I don't even want to get into. Because that had all to do with audiophile listening and not music. Sound is really very, very central to any kind of cultural shift. And especially when we get into the content, which I want to do Friday, regarding the autobiographical sound. Now, the autobiographical sound has many, 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 many different dimensions. And it's not as simple as one artist, as in Bob Dylan, bringing a lot of features together. That's remarkable. That happens now and then, doesn't it? And when that happens, sometimes it's instantaneous as it was then, but sometimes it takes a while for it to work its way through. In that it was sound, things happened much faster. In the remaining 40 seconds that we have today, one of the things I want you to think about, and I want you to come Friday with an opinion. You've already read the chapter. Thanks for reminding me I assigned it. But I want you to think about Songs of the Self, which just happens to be the title of the first book of free verse poetry in America, by Walt Whitman. Think about what we are really finding in ourselves through sound, number one. Just that. I just want to know what your research shows. But then I want to know if you think we have a reduced or increased capacity today. I want to know if you think we have, through music, we have a reduced or increased capacity today. This is not as simple-minded as my daughter's phone going off and me having to listen to Ring of Fire 1,000 times a day. It's not that simple. It's not pollution of sound. It's not sound pollution. It's the presence of it and where it resides. And I want to fold back in for Friday this world of Desolation Row and how it's hip culture, not counterculture. It's not counterculture. As a matter of fact, the liner notes end by talking about when I speak this word I, it is as if I am speaking of somebody's I that I faintly remember. There is no I. And there's a title of a book by John Cohen from this album, There Is No I. There's a collection of photographs from this era. This era changes everything literarily, musically, but also on a cultural level through sound. And what I'm wondering, and I'm very curious, I'm wondering if such a change is still possible. Is it going on? You'd be more aware of it than I, perhaps. And I wonder as well if we are still, as we were during this period of time, seeing the self as the core of change, as in I am a hipster. That is the message in Desolation Row, which is not a good place to be. It's a bad place to be. Hip culture, as a result of Desolation Row, Howell Cottage, during this era, 55 to 65, when things move from counterculture to hip culture, is not a good place to be. It's an awful place to be, but there's something that is important about that results in all kinds of interesting music genres today, alt-out country being one of them, songs of disaster. What is it that we're really listening for? What are we doing? We're not just simply reinventing songs of the Depression. We're actually trying to seek a new hip culture by virtue of hearing the old. Thank you.